Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. As long as it's all good, I want to welcome you to the House That Happens, sponsored by Shuey's Bar and Grill, the only place to be in suburban Etobicoke, voted 4 times the best dive bar in the city. However, we'd like to believe it's the best dive bar in the country because when you're here, we keep the vibe alive. Hi, my name is Cruz.
And I'm Andrew Milani.
And we want to talk about the iconic, insidious, and insane things that happen in this place we call the world of sports. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Cruz. So there's something I want to talk about a little bit before we get into the show. So I showed my girlfriend, or she's been listening to the podcast now, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, she's terrified of you.
I love that. I love it.
And then I showed her what you look like, and she said you look like a black David Suzuki.
Oh my God! Oh my! I'm taking off my glasses right now. Can you tell your girlfriend that I think that David Suzuki is less than dirt? That's what I think about David. I liked your girlfriend till I heard that. I hope she's going to hear this podcast, so she's going to say, "What's your girlfriend's name?"
Stephanie.
Stephanie, we have issues, okay, girl? We have issues, but that's okay. We'll get back to that. I look like a black David Suzuki.
Black David. You know what? I think I got to agree with her a little bit.
I'm shaving my chin. As soon as I go home, that's it. You know what I mean? A black David Suzuki. I can't wait to tell my wife that. She's going to fall off the table laughing because she knows what I think of David Suzuki. And
I got to ask Gail about that next time I see her then.
Oh, I'm going to go home. First thing I'm going to say, call me a black David Suzuki. But speaking of things that are black, and since I am a man of color, it would be remiss of I. It's getting towards the end of a Black History Month. And I just wanted to point out a few things that I thought about numbers that I'm going to go because we're going to be talking about baseball today and we want to talk about records. And one of my biggest things I want to throw out here, we won't debate it today, we'll wait another time, is I don't think that baseball numbers counted till Jackie Robinson came in. First of all, because Josh Gibson never got to play. If you don't know who Josh Gibson is, look him up. They say he could have been the greatest baseball player of all time. Number two, we don't talk enough about the amount of abuse that Bill Russell took to get to the NBA where it is today, so all the prima donnas can make the money that they are making with no regard for Bill Russell. And most importantly of all, I really want to point out to people that if you're a great athlete, you're going to make it in any sport. So I don't want people telling me about, is there enough black athletes in the NHL? I'm saying that's really kind of
irrelevant.
Irrelevant. That's my point right now. If you're good enough, you're gonna go. It's just like they talk about in the world of baseball. The black community says, well, there's not enough young black men that want to go play baseball. Well, the reason is they want to go play football or basketball because the money comes quicker and faster. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But in any event...
I want kind of on that topic, too, it's something I posted in our chat a few weeks ago. In the new MLB The Show game, they're actually including scenarios from Negro League games.
That's great.
I think that's so cool.
Me too. I got to check that out in any event because like there's guys like Satchel Paige that were amazing, but we'll never know because they didn't get to play. But I did a little studying, and everybody out there, if you're listening to this broadcast, Joe DiMaggio came to the park one day and he seen Josh Gibson hitting baseballs, and the first thing DiMaggio said was, "I'm glad I don't have to play against that guy." That's gonna, But moving on to the subjects at hand, we just finished last week where we had the NBA All-Star Game. What'd you think?
We did.
What'd you think of the NBA All-Star Game?
Snooze fest.
I heard
the game itself was like. It's bad when the coaches and players are criticizing it like right after the fact.
Immediately, I forget.
Jaylen Brown, what do you say? It was a glorified layup line.
Oh yeah, 100%. And not only that, I can't remember. Not Dean Blandino, but another big talking head said it's the worst basketball game he's ever seen in his life.
This
lesson. All-Star game was the worst basketball he's ever seen in his life. Now, let's take it one step further. One of the features of the All-Star weekend has to be a dunk contest, which was won by one of the guys from the Hoosiers.
Yeah, from the G League. A minor league player won the dunk contest.
Do you believe it's LeBron's the reason why the dunk contest is not good anymore? People are blaming LeBron because he never got involved.
If not LeBron, then definitely LeBron's generation of players, like him and the D Wades and Melo and those guys. Because like before, it kind of used to be like a stepping stone for these guys. It'd be like, hey, this is where you kind of showcase like the flashiness and all that. Like, you know, Michael Jordan did the dunk contest, of course. Dominique Wilkins. They had a famous duel back in the day. Vince Carter.
Yes, Tracy McGrady.
T-Mac. Yep, yeah, all these guys.
I kind of get it there because if you're going to an all-star game, shouldn't you see a guy that's an all-star instead of a guy that plays for the Hoosiers?
Or at least,
I'm just saying that.
At least someone that's a household name.
Yes, or you get to know it. So I think the only good thing about the all-star game, in my personal opinion, is I do think that the skills competition is kind of fun, and of course I
think that's kind of. I'm not a fan of the skills competition. I think
I
that's
don't mind.
Lame.
I thought
they're like dribbling around the car and whatever. Like, come on.
I thought the NHL actually their skills competition was a little bit more interesting than the NBA's this year, which usually doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, there's only a couple things. I think we talked about this. There's only a couple things I liked about the NHL one, and it was both the previously recorded segments.
Oh yeah,
although
that was
that's
bogus.
Like those been getting mixed reviews though. Like I enjoyed them, but talking to other people, it's been like some of the older guys maybe didn't appreciate that so much. I thought it was fun though. But back to the NBA. I love the 3-point shootout, though.
That's number one. That's what I'm saying. And then you look at the guys that were in that. You got all-stars in the 3-point competition.
Oh, yeah. Guys want to win that.
And guys want to win that. That's been going back to the Larry Bird days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to come in because what is the NBA? You want to be a shooter. You want to be known as a shooter. And I thought it was great, especially when you, like, I know you mentioned it previously. It's kind of like a little bit of an endurance contest,
Oh, it's definitely an endurance contest. And I like how they kind of change it up to add a little bit of strategy where, like, you have the rack that's where you got no money balls, and you got the one that's all money balls.
Yeah.
And then they added those, like, 2 shots that are worth 3 now. Yeah. That's kind of a little change up, too. I think that's really interesting. What I think they should add is like a half court shot that's worth like 5 or something.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think that would be interesting. Anything that brings the fans out and gets your ass off the seat. That's what I'm just saying. You know what I mean? And otherwise, it's just a glorified weekend of guys getting together, alumni, and everyone loves a little alumni. I heard Michael Wilbon of PTI said the best thing about the All-Star Weekend is the camaraderie and the community of the NBA. He believes it's got nothing to do with the product on the court, any of the competitions. It's a fact for some of the old guys to come in and remind the new guys of what's going on, even though there seems to be a little bit of a divide between the old and the new, because some of the new...
Oh, definitely.
You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, I'm not saying anybody's got attitude or... I don't even know really how to explain it, but I really wish they would understand one thing, and I beat this with a stick sometime. Just before you guys, a lot of these kids were even born or around, the NBA was on tape delay.
Yep.
Now it's an in-demand thing, and I think what they're doing is a lot of this attitude that's going on is wrecking the game. Did you hear Adam Silver's comments concerning load management?
I did not.
I think he glossed it over way too much for my liking, because there's really been a snowball effect going on where a lot of people are starting to say, come on, guys, you got to play.
Oh, yeah.
Charles Barkley led the Vanguard, a couple other sports shows I've been on, and saying this. At this point in time, you have private airplanes. Everyone's got their own trainer. Nutrition is better. Equipment is better. Technology is better. Everything is supposed to be better, but you got to play less. That kind of weirds me out in a funny kind of way. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's very weird. Like I said before, I think we're heading towards a lockout in the NBA.
Well, one of the things that Adam Silver said was, and I agree with this, okay? A lot of these contracts are based on how you were performed. For example, if you make an NBA All-Star team, you get this bracket of money. Or you're an MVP, you make this money. Because everyone knows the famous thing is Klay Thomas missed by 2 votes. Klay Thompson missed by 2 votes.
Yep.
Who actually shot 12 threes last night. He was amazing. And he missed out on what, about $50-60 million because he wasn't voted on the team.
Yeah, he didn't make postseason All-Star.
Yeah, that's what it was. So what happens if a couple writers don't like you?
Yeah, there we go.
So I'm going.
It's a strange system that they went with.
Oh, I think it's what Adam Silver said. This from now on, it should be determined on the number of games you played, because you know what? Another one of the MVPs. And some of the guys that make the All-Star game, some of these guys don't even play 60 games. So how do you make the All-Star team, or you're even consideration for the MVP when you've sat half a season out?
Yeah, I mean, let's put this out there. If you're actually missing, 20-something games due to, like, legit injury, different story.
Oh, yeah. No. I
But
get that.
if you're just sitting out, like, come on.
Well, you know what? I don't. If you miss 20-some games, then no, you shouldn't be eligible for an MVP, because that means, how can you be the MVP when you miss a quarter of a season? I mean, Jalen Hurts. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was deserving of the MVP in the NFL this year, but he was in a neck-and-neck race with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And they say the reason that Hurts didn't end up winning is because
he missed those, like, 3 games at the end of the season.
Yeah. So, I mean, that puts more credibility into the award itself, I believe.
I think so too.
So
and think about the NHL. You're not winning the Hart or the Vezina if you play, like, 2/3 or 3/4 of the season.
No,
you're out of contention.
And I like that about the NHL. So I really think that the only good thing that Adam Silver said is that maybe during the contract they're going to make a rule where it says if you don't play a certain amount of games, you shouldn't be eligible for certain awards or All-Pro or like All-Star teams or something like that. There should be like a line where they say, okay, if you don't play 62 games or more, then you're not eligible for MVP or Sixth Man of the Year or all that.
Yeah, any of those awards.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But it's interesting because we're going to keep our eye on the CBA, which is going to come up, because there's just too much nonsense going on in the NBA with load management, guys sitting, horrible games. The ratings are down.
Though we've gotten to that it's because of the streaming, and the streaming numbers are hard to quantify.
I heard. Agreed. However, I did hear. I don't know. Somebody was on. I don't know. As Tim Legler, one of the guys said, "Get away from the streaming. The actual numbers that go with ESPN. They've apparently put that into their equation in the last couple of years. So that's
like you're saying they put the streaming in their equation.
Yeah, they've now decided to put it in, and they're still saying they got it down.
I don't think some other networks are set up for that though. That's the problem.
Well, I'm saying the problem is this: get on the goddamn court. Play the goddamn game. You know what I mean? You're making $40 million a year.
Possibly more,
and you can't come out now.
I think it's ridiculous too.
When you get to the 12th guy in the team, you're only making $1 million or whatever, only making $1 million. So those guys got to pull it up. But in any event, I don't want to waste a whole show on talking about CBAs and conscious like that. I'm just glad that this whole load management thing is coming out, and people are really starting to yell. The fans are getting into it. They're saying, what? The number one thing is, I believe, is they should just shorten the season. There's too many games.
That sounds like it's in the cards, seriously.
Okay, but if you
go into like 72 games or whatever.
Okay, then the players got to take less money.
I agree. That's how I think we're heading towards a lockout. Going back to that.
Well, that's all good too. You know what I'm saying? So anyway,
a couple more things I want to get to All-Star though. So, or unless you had anything more to say.
No, go ahead.
So I thought there was a cool little moment. They had LeBron, Kareem, and Karl Malone, the 3 top scorers of all time. They had a little moment there on stage.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
That was cool.
That was very cool. I'm glad Kareem showed up. I'm glad Kareem's not so gnarly as he used to be, but
softened in his old age, unlike you. Another part that I found funny was Karl Malone was one of the judges for the dunk contest, right? And his face during that like stupid dunk where like the guy had the envelope attached to the mesh there, I thought that was just like so funny. Oh, or it was just like it reflected like everyone watching. It's like this guy's just not impressed.
You know, I agree too. But you know, then again, Karl Malone is the only black redneck I know. I'm going to say it. Someone's got to say it. I'm going to say it. That Karl Malone hangs out probably with, no, I don't want to say who, because then it makes that I'm going to be derogatory.
The Utah effect, let's just say.
Yeah, I'm just going to, whatever it is. And I want to add another thing on. This is something that we voted on a few weeks ago, and I think that it was verified. If you watch a previous episode, we had decided on the best bitches in the NBA. Nate McMillan just got fired by the Atlanta Hawks. The reason that he got fired from the Atlanta Hawks, let's talk about it. Trae Young, okay? I'm going to beat this guy. First of all, get a haircut, buddy. Get a haircut.
You're telling someone to get a haircut?
No, because you know what? I don't look like I'm going to be losing mine. When he gets to my age, he's going to have no hair. I'm going to tell you that right now. He's going to have no hair. I think the fact that he's going to be I heard someone say he's going to be a coach killer. I believe it 100%. You know what I mean? I believe it's 100% due to the fact that, first of all, they weren't winning. Nate McMillan came in and they did the drive and they ended up going to the conference finals. All of a sudden, things don't go his way. He starts crying and he loses the coach. Now, everybody knows in the NBA, especially in the NBA with only 12 players, is if you got a problem, it's the coach that's going to go, not the player.
Well, that's any sports.
Well, you know what I mean?
You
Especially
can't fire all the
$40 million
players, right? The old saying.
No, I agree, but I'm just saying it verifies the fact that I think that Trae Young is the bitch of the year in the NBA, and just the fact he got a coach fired verifies it for me. And considering that I might have a little bit of hair, I'd put my hair up against his any day of the week. Get a haircut, buddy.
Ooh.
Get a haircut. In case you haven't noticed, I'm going to say this. I thought Trae Young was a bitch at Oklahoma. I watched the college I watch NCAA. March Madness is coming up. I can't wait because it puts me away from the NBA for a while. But I'm glad that the guys. I hope Atlanta doesn't make the playoffs. That's what I'm hoping.
They'll make the play-in, though, I think.
I agree too, which turns into something we that's closer to home. We are the house that happens, and we're concerned what happens in our city of Toronto. And I just want to give a big shout out to Usai Majuri for not being a seller.
Oh, okay. I got to correct you there.
Oh,
Masai Ujiri.
I know, hey, Masai, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I always screw your name up. But anyway,
We know you are Masai.
You know what I mean? I'm glad that he was a buyer and not a seller.
Yeah.
You know what
I mean, like I was questioning the whole way because I'm like,
yeah, we did talk about it.
yeah, because you're like, there's rumors, rumblings of unrest in the locker room. Let's just say.
I agree. I mean, there's a little bit because you know what the problem is when you got 7 guys that are doing 7 things that are the same.
Too many wings.
Well, what's your position? So I think Masai was very smart because I've heard it over the year and it was true. It says, what if they had a defined big man in the middle? So they went out and got Podol. And since Pirtle, whatever his name is, they've won 5 of 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he had what was his second game? It was like a big game, 30 points. Like
oh yeah,
it was Shaq, classic Shaq numbers basically.
And you know another thing that he did that surprised me is he's a great rim protector.
Yeah, which is what the team needed.
Exactly, and they're going inside. You know what? My favorite player on the team is Scotty Barnes. Everybody knows that, but I don't think that he's really a point guard. Like he did last night.
He's a point forward kind of guy.
Yeah, and I hope Fred VanVleet gets back quickly. But what I'm saying is that about Masai is, if there was a chemistry problem, who is the problem with? It seems that last year I was ready to trade Pascal Siakam. I was tired of his attitude, but he's taken a left turn on that, or right turn actually, and he's back to being the Pascal that we know. Yeah. I heard the problem is OG. OG thinks that he's a scorer. Okay? He came in last night. He's the best defensive player again on the floor last night.
Yep.
Easily the best defensive player, and you're not going to win without a defensive player of that caliber. And the problem is, as long as the shooters stay hot. I thought we should have traded Gary Trent Jr. I still do. He's a free agent at the end of the season, I believe, right?
Yeah, and it sounds like they're going to work on or they are working on a contract extension. It sounds like he wants to stay.
Everybody wants to stay in Toronto once they get here. It sounds like an outpost from north with Eskimos, but once they get to Toronto, they
didn't used to be that way.
I know, but now that people come here and they see what's going on, just look at the opportunities they get financially with commercials alone.
Oh yeah,
I think I've said this before. They're not going to get these opportunities in Oklahoma. They're not going to get some of these opportunities in Memphis. Like Toronto is, quote, a world-class city. Mm-hmm. A lot goes on here. So who have you seen on commercials? OG. Fred,
Scotty Barnes,
Gary Trent,
Siakam, VanVleet, the peanut butter ones, yeah.
Like if you just think the lineup, and I'll start it back with the worst pick ever in Raptors franchise history, Bargnani. Remember he used to do all the
pasta commercials.
Yeah, because he was as soft as a pasta he was eating. We know that. Come on, he was Bargnani. In any event, I really think that
it wasn't even that good of a pasta brand.
I think we got 20 games left on the schedule.
Let me quickly check that.
I think it's about 20 games left.
Let me quickly see.
I think it is.
We have 22 games left.
Okay, so 22 games left, and I heard we have the 3rd or 4th easiest schedule going down according to the metrics, that we are supposed to have one of the easier schedules.
Compared to who, though?
Let's see who we play beside Chicago.
So it's Detroit today, so at Detroit, at Cleveland versus Chicago.
Yeah. See?
At Washington, at Denver, at the Clippers, at the Lakers, versus Denver, versus OKC, versus Minnesota.
See, those are a lot of teams that are all fighting.
I don't think their schedule's that easy.
Well, you know what?
Then they end off at Boston versus Milwaukee.
Every time I hear the word Boston, I want to puke. You know, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that a little bit later. However, I think this. I think this is a time, if they got the 20 games left, get the rotation down, go with the 8 guys. I think Precious should play a little bit more. Get Boucher, get his confidence back, because I'm going to tell you this much.
Boucher was playing pretty well against the Pelicans, I thought.
Yes, he did, and he's back to being a defensive force, which is the Raptors' ticket. I think that they're going to score, because this, like, you know, what are your defensive metrics this year? The game's out of control scoring wise. Like, you know that they have more 40-point scorers now since 1961 and 62. This is the most 40-point scores in 61 and 62. Oh, by the way, do you know who was responsible for most of those games? Wilt Chamberlain. So, you know what I mean? He was whipping white boys badly back then. You know what I'm saying? But how did that get him? We're talking 60 years in, and it took that long to get that many 40-point scorers in the evolution of the NBA. What does that tell you?
Offense is out of control.
Yeah, and nobody plays defense anymore. So I'm saying is that, and one of the things that really bugs me when people say this is that now that they changed the game where you have a lot of switches and you move around more, they say it's harder on the players because they're pounding their knees on the hard court. That's why we have this so-called load management.
I don't buy that. Have you seen these shoes that these guys wear? That's like walking on a cloud.
Come on, stop it. It's completely ridiculous. You know what I mean? You're in better shape, better gear, the whole things I've said before. So I'm not buying into that. Get out on the court and play. But I really think that the Raptors might get up to a 6. They're only 3 or 4 games out of the 6th spot. When you look at it,
they are. It's a little more than that. 4.5.
Okay, let's look at the loss column. That's what I always want to look at. Okay.
They have 4 more losses than the Knicks, who are in 6th.
Okay, so there you go. And the Heat lost last night, and they don't look like they're going anywhere quickly either. You know what I mean?
Oh, you mean Kevin Love won't save them?
No, I don't think they're going to save them. They looked terrible last night against Milwaukee. Absolutely terrible. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But we'll wait to see. There's another thing that we wanted to talk about. Is LeBron James said that this is the 23 most important regular season game of his career. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
He better play all 23 of those games.
Oh, there's no doubt he will.
He better.
There's no doubt. And AD is going to be playing here. My thing is this about the Lakers. AD stays healthy, they make the playoffs.
That's the big question, though, because, I wouldn't bet on his health. I love Anthony Davis.
I heard that someone says, and this is an interesting prospect, that guys a certain size play a certain way will run into injuries.
And like, in what way? Like,
because they say, like, okay, AD played point guard in high school.
Okay,
shot up. He shot up really tall, but he still plays like a point guard sometimes. So what happens is the wear and tear in your knees playing that type of game where you're not going into the paint, you're not moving laterally, you're going up and down, you're pounding that maybe. Zion Williams is another guy that they said was like that. And they also say that it starts.
Yeah, I don't know. Zion, he's more of like a
bull.
Yeah. I think Zion's just carrying too much weight. I think that's the problem.
Well, here's an interesting thing that another name that came up, and it's interesting now because it goes to the wear and tear, is Kevin Durant.
I was just going to bring him up, funny enough that you said that, because he does play that guard kind of game, but he's like,
okay, he's 15 years in the league. He's almost 7 feet. He's 6'11". So guess what? He's starting to have those injuries that are wear and tear that kind of lends itself to the theory of a man this size playing this type of game will probably have a little wear and tear that they're not usually getting from somebody that played that way 20 years ago or 30 years ago. I'm not sure. There's not enough data on it, really.
It's an interesting theory, though.
It is. When you think about it, and certain guys getting certain injuries, and there's starting to be a little bit of a sample size, so to speak, on where that's going to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Davis, it's been injury problems with him pretty much since the beginning of when he got to the league, right?
Oh yeah. And he had a minor injury in college too, with the same thing when he won the national championship. In any event, I'm going to start to think that it's going to boil down to the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee for the Eastern Conference. But I just want to bring up something that I found very unusual. They just gave Coach Mazzilla of the Boston Celtics an extension on the team, okay? So what do you do with Buddy that they suspended for his indiscretions with a staff member? Did they leave him hanging out to dry? Why didn't they just fire the guy?
Well, I think I don't want to steal your thunder here, but I know you have a theory about this.
100%. What they're doing is they're making sure he never gets a game in the NBA again. ever. What they're trying to do is they're hanging him out to dry. So every organization says, do you want this guy as your coach? He might be sleeping with your daughter in a week. I just think that it's a little bit crazy personally because everybody makes mistakes.
And this was something like it's dealing with someone's private life as well.
Exactly. So
I think that's so absurd to like kick a guy to a curb for that.
Well, I think, you know what it is that the old theory about the league being the elitist, like the what do you call it, the benchmark teams, the anchor teams of the league.
It's like the Celtics, the Lakers.
That kind of deal. So what they've done is he's disgraced the Celtic name, so to speak, and therefore the Celtics want to make an example of him because we are the gods of basketball and nobody does that in our house kind of stuff. But listen, I'm thinking right now somewhere in this city is having an affair. As we are speaking, somewhere in this city, someone's having an affair.
More than just someone.
Maybe two. Anyone want to talk about the mayor of Toronto? Okay. We don't want to go there. I don't think
that led to problems at my work because we had a bunch of postcards where he's on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the company I work for, they help bring the Michelin guy to Toronto.
Oh, right.
So obviously part of the announcement, so it's like my two bosses, John Tory, like there's like a Michelin star chef there and another guy who I didn't know, but... Like, and we had the picture at the front desk too. That's all gone.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
And that's again, like I don't think it's a very fine line. I believe like your personal life to your professional life. Now, if you're doing something in your personal life that's affecting your professional life, for example, gambling, drugs, whatever. Okay, but I mean. This is, I don't know. I don't want to be the righteous one.
No.
You know what I mean? They're never going to make a saint out of me, so I'm not going to be the one that's going to try to judge. You know what I mean?
And I mean, the John Tory situation, I think, is a little bit different because that did interfere with his professional life, correct? So
I'm not really sure. But anyway.
He was helping this staffer get some jobs.
Okay, so what? I mean, like, I'm not going to say anything about fellatio either, okay? So, but I have... You brought it up off mic. You came up with an interesting scenario about the NBA, the MVP, and who wins the championship.
Yes, so the last 2 years, the All-Star Game MVP has gone on to win the Finals MVP that year. So 2 years ago, it was Giannis. Last year, was Steph Curry. Things work out the same this year. That means Jason Tatum will win Finals MVP.
You know, that would make me sick. Anytime the Celtics win,
I really I don't even want Boston to go anywhere near the finals. So,
well, I think you know what I think. Even though Giannis has got a couple of weird injuries, he went out of the game last night again.
Oh no.
Yeah, he went. They say it might be minor, but remember just before the All-Star break, he went into the corner and he banged it up. Well, apparently it didn't. It looked harmless when he made his move on the court. Then he walked off, and. The next thing you know, he played 6 minutes last night.
Wow.
Even though Milwaukee blew them off the court. Another horrible NBA game last night. Absolutely ridiculous. But that's just something we're going to have to live with. You know what I'm saying? Until we get to the CBA, like we said, we don't want to beat dead horses. We're big basketball fans. I'm going to tell you honestly, I am so looking forward to March Madness this year because I don't want to look at the NBA for a while. They get me back to the guys that want to get in the league. But before we leave the basketball, I want to ask you a question, Mr. Milani, because something happened in college basketball how do you handle this situation? Did you hear what's going on with the University of Alabama?
No, I saw on the TV here they flashed something about them, but I don't have my glasses on. I didn't have a chance to read it.
Okay, let's put it this way. One of the guys is involved in a murder.
Oh, shit.
A murder. So we got
one of the players.
Okay, so that guy was dismissed immediately, correct? He was, and I should have all their names down here, but we'll do that next time. But what I want to get at is this. Okay, what they have as information is this girl got killed. One of the guys was playing on the team. They dismissed the guy who got charged or is involved. The other two guys haven't been charged, but they're checking the cell phones. The last guys they talked to were the two guys starting on Alabama. And one of the guys texts the other guy that says, "Can you pick up the gun?"
Oh, shit.
So what do we do? There's no charges. There's been no evidence yet. So both guys played the other night in a huge game because Alabama is considered a number one seed for the NCAA tournament. So the word is, should they have not let them play? or until they could have conclusive evidence, or should they let them play like they did?
That's a tough one.
Sure it is, but here's what I say. I love that kid because he went out and scored 40 points. They were screaming from the stands, convict him, murderer. Can you imagine going out on the court and you got fans screaming at you like that and you still scored 41 points? I'm telling you right now, there's NBA scouts looking at this guy going, that's moxie. That's the type of guy you want in your team. Not because of the crime, but
Well, I hope not.
But because you have that much adversity on the court. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That much adversity on the court, and people are yelling at you, and you can still perform under that pressure.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? It's just insane.
I'd probably let him play too, but I mean, like, that's that's a tough one.
Yes. Okay. Can we just have a stop edit for a second?
Yeah.
Had a quick pause there. Maybe,
you don't even have to say that. I'll just edit that out.
Okay, perfect. Okay, let's
movie magic, baby.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. I just want to have before we leave the NBA and the basketball discussion, I want to give a huge shout out to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. First and foremost, I'm finally getting my act together on punt for the review, which I've been saying for weeks. But you're going to hear more about my talk of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because we're talking about All-Star Weekend, and like you said, it was really cool. They had Karl Malone,
LeBron and Kareem.
Up there. I think that young people should really go back and take a look at the history of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And if they did, they would realize that perhaps maybe he is the GOAT. And I'm going to tell you the reasons why. The game has changed so much in the last 60 years that people don't realize this. This is how ridiculous it is. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was 3 times Player of the Year in the NCAA. The reason that he wasn't 4 times is because you had to play freshman. Mm-hmm. So think about that, guys, and all you guys in the NBA that are one and done and all that kind of nonsense. He couldn't even play on the varsity team. He had to play on the junior team. The famous story is the junior team played the senior team and they beat them. So Kareem already beat the thing. So that's 3 times. Now let's take it one step further.
Well, he went to UCLA?
UCLA. Yeah. Okay, now let's take it one step further. He went to he was born in Harlem. I think it was called Power Memorial, a parochial school in New York. 3 state championships. Before he even got to college, he had already won 3 state championships, where I don't think there's many guys in the history of basketball that won 3 state championships. Not only that, his second year in the NBA, he grabbed Oscar Robertson and won a championship with the Milwaukee Bucks before he went to LA and became Showtime and became the greatest scorer of all time before LeBron had come in there. So sometimes he had a very sullen reputation. Some people might have said a little gnarly. I recently seen him on the Jennifer Hudson show, and which I'd never watched. Thank God the wife taped it for me, where he's taking the edges off and discussing the game today, where he was saying a lot of things that go on in the NBA today are sometimes not respected by the young guys because they're just making too much money. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That's so. I think that anybody out there that you think you're a big NBA fan, or and I loved Kareem when I was younger. I love Kareem. Like, I'm not a Laker guy, but I like the Showtime because I was a Magic Johnson guy too, and he told some great Magic Johnson stories. But big shout out to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The house that happens is not finished with Kareem by a long shot. We'll get to that later. Okay. In any event.
Well, I would just implore, like, if you're a young guy listening, just get into that sports history. There's so much in there to dig into.
Exactly.
So much in there, like, I mean, obviously now, it's the hustle and bustle. Like, we got to focus on the stuff now. That's all fine and good. But I mean, like,
how did we get here?
Exactly.
How did we get here? And we're going to point that up in a minute when we're talking towards the end of the show. We're going to when we get there, I'll me, the old man here, what I have discovered in my old age, and you know what I'm going to talk about because I've been watching it thanks to you. But in any event, what we should be talking about is today is the first day that the Toronto Blue Jays are playing their first spring training game.
Yes, and our producer Jay Brar is down there in spring training as well.
Is he really?
He is. He just sent me a text.
Big shout out to Jay.
One day once the house becomes a mansion, I think what I want to do is do shows live from Grapefruit League in Florida. I think that'd be so cool.
Oh, we will. That'd be great. I've always wanted to go to Grapefruit. It's like a bucket list thing for me.
Oh, my buddy went to Dunedin and he like did the tour of the facilities. That's so cool.
Oh yeah, and then especially since they've upgraded it. But which brings us to this point here. I'm happy to hear because ultimately at one point in time, I used to say that baseball was my favorite sport because it's the cerebral game. However, as we go into this new year, we should discuss the fact that we have some rule changes.
We do a few big rule changes, obviously. So one is the pitch clock.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
So you have 15 seconds with the bases empty and 20 seconds with the runners on. Violations of the pitch clock will result in an automatic ball or strike. So this is, I don't know if I'll, maybe not the most controversial rule coming in, but definitely a controversial rule considering, like, I guess, like the pace and the, kind of like a pitcher's, how do you say it? Like they're,
I know where you're going with this, but I'm going to take it one step further. You continue because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen.
Honestly, like, I kind of like this rule because, like, sometimes it gets a little ridiculous with, like, how much, like, the...
I know. You got to touch your knee, grab your crotch, twist your hat, fix your gloves, yell at your girlfriend in the stands,
like,
and then you stand in the box.
Like, what is it? Like, David Ortiz would, like, do and undo his glove, like, 15 times.
Okay.
Who was even worse? Like, I think, was it Nomar Garciaparra?
Oh,
I think he was even worse.
You know what? Can we never say his game again? He's the most underrated player ever. Did he win an MVP once for Boston, didn't he?
Garciaparra?
Yeah.
I think so, before he kind of, like, got kicked to the curb when they kind of...
Because he was
win
that
Moneyball.
Yeah, and not only that, but he was protected in the lineup with Ortiz and those hitters and those Boston things. And then once he had to go somewhere else, he wasn't protected in the lineup, and his defense was never as good as they tried to quote it to be. But that's another story. My take on the matter is this. Okay, they say this has been working down in the minor leagues so far. But that's young guys, okay, that are coming up to the minors that have probably been schooled on some of these type of rules, okay? Mm-hmm. Now you're going to get into the box, and it's the 7th inning. There's 2 men on. It's the Dodgers against the Padres. Manny Machado's coming up to the plate. And Manny Machado, who's making about $40 million a year, he decides he's going to tie his shoes, grab his balls, and call his mom. And then they're going to say strike. What's going to happen?
Well, obviously he's not going to be happy.
Okay, so what happens then? So now the count's 2-2. He gets out, doesn't do his thing. Now the count is 3-2. What if this game is going to decide who wins the division?
Well, I mean, hopefully by then these players would be better accustomed to these rule sets by the end of the season.
Well, I think what's going to happen is they're going to call the ball. The manager is going to come out. He's going to get thrown out for protecting the player. And we're going to have mayhem. So the first 60 games of the year, I think that we're going to see some of the most ridiculous things we've ever seen in the history of baseball.
Well, I'm going to say it's a little bit less than that. I think like the first like month and a half of the season are going to be a little bit kooky. But I mean, like hopefully like this is all ironed out by like spring training. I think that's a little optimistic, but at least
way too optimistic. Yeah. Half the guys aren't going to be there.
I'm hoping by May that the guys are settled into these new rules.
I just throw the guys out. I'll throw everybody out. If that's the rules, that's the rules. But I'm gonna tell you what really makes me crazy about the rules is that we've adjusted the rules because your generation is soft. Come on, everything you change is because everybody...
It's not just my generation.
Well, whatever. You call you millennials or whatever you call them. I'm just called old man, so I'll deal with that. But it's called everybody's too damn soft. And then they learn to do certain things like, I
was wanting a better paced game soft. It's entertainment.
Okay, so what you do is guys come up there and all they're thinking about angle. Bat angle.
Launch angle.
Well, I never heard of launch angle when I was 16. So who cares about it? Just get up there and swing. But you had to change the rules because guys couldn't do certain things. For example, I want to line all my guys up on the right field line.
Oh,
I want 9 guys on the right field line.
Now you're getting into something that's pissing me off.
Exactly.
The shift.
So what happens is because you can't do something, we got to change the rules. That's called soft.
Okay, I agree there.
Okay, and then just to get it over, one of the things I heard about in a football analogy yesterday is that they're thinking about changing the rule. You know where Philadelphia does that thing? They call it the tush push.
Oh,
where they go down and they said they're going to outlaw that. Why? You learn to stop the guys. If you're going to push back. So, guess what? They're getting away with it. That's why the soft is coming in.
I used to think that was illegal in the NFL, though. I didn't realize that was legal.
It is legal. Well, you just get in and you push the line forward, away you go. Yeah. That's football, right? Now, all of a sudden, they're saying because Philadelphia does it more than anybody else because they got the best O-line in the league. We know that. But now you're going to make a rule because the other guys are too soft to stop it? Get out of here. This is bullshit as far as I'm concerned. And baseball has got too much bullshit going on that way for me to you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, my problem with outlawing the shift outright is that they're saying that there's rules now that like the infielders won't even be allowed to touch like the outfield grass.
Yeah.
That's going to cause problems.
Of course.
I think those rules have got to be tweaked a little bit.
So why did they bring these rules in?
I don't know. Well, that one because people want balls in play.
Because all you kids are on video games. Everything goes real
Well,
fast.
hold on. I think we can admit we talked about this a little bit before. Baseball, it's been a little bit of a problem where it's like too much of like an all or nothing thing. It's either like home runs or strikeouts.
Agreed. I got you there.
That's been a problem.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. Launch angle and all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Sure.
And they're even getting to a point now where they're adjusting ballparks. How do you adjust Camden Yards? Remember when they built Camden Yards? It was supposed to be the iconic ballpark. Every ballpark's like that. This is Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
This is Bill Durham. This is everything about baseball. And what do? They adjusted it for the hitters. Why? Because the game's soft. Because they're soft. They couldn't do it. So,
Hey, you're a Tigers fan. They were like the first ones to adjust their outfield walls.
I wasn't happy with that. Okay, I wasn't either. And I'm an old school Detroit Tiger guy. I will admit that. I'll take that to my grave. But that's my point. Okay, my point is this.
Well, there's also an aspect too of like you want to recruit like the big sluggers. If they're like, well, I want to hit like X amount of home runs.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you another thing that's soft. Why can't pitchers go 200 innings?
Well, you want their arms to fall off?
Stop it. Bob Gibson threw 5 years in a row, 300 innings. No, 4 to 5, he threw 300 innings. In 1 year, he pitched 289 because he what did he have? He wrecked something on his hand, so he missed 2 starts. So if he had those 2 starts back, he would have had 5 years in a row where he would have pitched 300 innings. Mm-hmm. Ferguson Jenkins won 20 games in a row, 6 years won 20 games 6 years in a row. I hate the Baltimore Orioles. They were the last time they had 4 20-game winners. Every guy pitched at least 250 innings, which gets back to my original premise. Better nutrition, better gear, better workout, better Gatorade, better girlfriends, better cars, and we got to be easier on them? Come on, bro.
Well, it's not a matter of that. It's a matter of, like, people have discovered that, like, if it's a stronger bullpen is what makes a stronger team. So you got to rely on
analytics wreck the game.
Well,
I'm going to go with that. Now, here's something I'm going to throw at you that you're not expecting, that this is really bugs me about baseball, and nobody wants to talk about it. It's the baseball itself.
Oh, the
what
juiced
kind
balls?
of ball are you going to get this year? So every year MLB says, oh, no. But, you do realize that MLB and MLB kind of owns Rawlings now.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're going to make the ball, what is it this year? Okay, we're going to make the ball so it flies out of the park. My basic thing is, remember the Brady Anderson year?
Yeah.
Brady Anderson hit 51 home runs. The next year the ball got changed. He never hit more than 30. Come on.
No, I agree. That's ridiculous.
Okay, so now what are we going to get this year? Is the ball going to be made to, to accommodate the parks? Or is it going to be there to accommodate the guy that can only go 5 innings because he can't see the 3 guys? You know what's scaring me? You're taking the human element out of the game.
Yeah.
And baseball's all about the human element. You know what I mean? It's the best team sport based on individual performance. Mano to mano. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, you know what I mean? You got a pitcher, you got a hitter. And it's going to be a reaction. Every time that ball goes, it creates the drama of the game. That's why I love baseball. So I don't like the fact that you got to say, oh, he's seen the pitcher, he's seen them 3 times. The 3rd time up, he's going to get hit. Analytics says this. Okay, what about the game where you're on? Okay, you had a new girlfriend. She juiced you so good last night, you came out to the mound, you're ready to go. So your fastball is still doing that in the 7th inning, but the coach says, oh no, the general manager, because who's really running the team?
Oh, the GM.
Okay, so the GM says, no man, calls down the day, get that guy out of the game. He's throwing 87 pitches. Okay, then you bring in the guy, he brings in me. Bang, 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 innings over, we lose the game. I'm saying I want to bring the human element back. Okay?
Well, I'm with you there. There should be a little bit more situational awareness to these managerial decisions.
Really? When are they going to do it? This year?
Oh, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying what I think should happen.
100%. I'm with you there because now that the bases are bigger, Okay?
Yeah, that's the last change.
Okay, so bases are going to be bigger. Guys are only allowed on certain places on the field. You got to be in the box at a certain time. I'm saying that baseball is a game of numbers. Okay? It's been the game of numbers since the beginning of time. What are you doing now with the matrix of baseball that you've added all those things? You know what I'm saying?
It's going to be interesting to see how the games shake out. It's definitely going to be an adjustment period for the first month and a half, I think.
But isn't baseball baseball?
Well,
You get up, you want to get home, you run around the bases, sometimes you err.
these guys are
sometimes
creatures
you
of
don't
habit,
have
though. If you throw off one little thing in the formula,
Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm going to get back to my original premise. I think that society's gotten soft, and it's seeped into the games that we love, including baseball. That's my point. First of all, you've got to first of all, what are you doing with the ball? That's my big thing. Is about the
I agree there.
What are you doing with the ball this year? We don't know. Remember, was it last year or the year before? And every pitcher said it. The seams were a little higher.
Yeah.
The seam on the ball was higher. They get less time. And remember, guys were throwing, looked like they were throwing at guys' heads. No, they weren't used to that type of lacing. So when they were going to release some of their balls, they lost control. It was going at guys' heads.
I definitely think the league should be way more transparent about what's going on with the balls.
Never. I don't think they will.
No, I don't think they will either, but they fucking should.
Of course. I mean, that's noticed the game. Like, if a guy, I was just seeing here, like in my yearly thing, and God bless my son, he's still laughing. Only old men buy baseball books. That's what I hear through the grapevine. Only old men buy them. But I like to feel the
My generation's not buying those.
No, exactly. And I'm still buying baseballs. And by the way, I got a couple of more of those year annuals.
Remember nice.
I got a couple more. I found a couple more.
There's one thing I highlighted in one of those magazines that you gave me. I want to go through it with you. I think it'd be a lot of fun for a segment for the show.
Okay, don't tell me now.
No, I wouldn't dare.
Okay, that's good. But in any event, what we should be going, one thing that I'm looking at is before we leave this baseball issue is...
well, I want to talk about the bigger bases too. We only touched upon that.
Okay.
So the base is going from 15 inches to 18 inches. So these actually reduced injuries in the minors significantly, which I think is the most important. That's why I'm a big proponent of this one.
I have, you know what, for some reason or another, even though everything that I've just said, I don't want to contradict myself, I kind of like the concept of the bases being a little bit bigger. Okay? For the safety reason, number one, I like that.
Yeah.
Because, I played softball for 25 years. Remember, what do we have? We have the safety bag and the inside
first base,
bag. On first base. Why? For safety purposes. So I get it. Because
a lot of accidents at first base.
Oh, you got it. So what did they do? They decided, Baseball Canada or whatever said, you can put you down the double bag. You got to run this way. Because we all had to go to work the next day after the
Sure.
game, okay? So we didn't want the injuries. But I really like that because it should cut down on those, the twisted ankles getting there and all that stuff, the extra step. But one thing I like about it is this. I think it's going to keep innings alive. And that's what you want. Everybody wants a little bit more offense.
Yep.
Everybody wants a little bit more, everyone wants a little bit more video game in their real life world. That's what I think it's boiling down to, especially in every sport. However, I like, how many times do you see where they show the camera and the guy's sliding in there and he just gets touched and all he needed was another 2 inches.
Another inch,
and it would have been safe. So I think that if you're going to bring up more offense, because you're doing everything for the pitchers anyway, you know what I mean? You're getting 16 relief pitchers to pitch to one guy, so the analytics say all of this stuff too. And it's interesting because I seen Theo Epstein on MLB Network the other day, and he was discussing the rule changes. And I have to say that, as I say about Steph Curry, who's the good, the bad, the ugly about baseball, so is Theo Epstein. He's the good and the bad and the ugly. You know what I mean? He was the one that, everyone talks about Billy Beane.
But he turned around the Red Sox.
And wait a second. This guy's going to go down as one of the greatest executives in
the Cubs too.
And the Cubs.
And now he works for the league.
Why is that? Because he knows the inside out. He even admitted that he thinks that they took analytics a little too far.
That's interesting.
Yeah, he didn't say
He kind of like danced around it.
Oh, yeah. He danced around it in a big way and saying, oh, this is how it is. This is how it is. People should understand this about the game. I'm just going to be a get off my lawn guy and say, hey, guys, just play your goddamn game and quit looking for excuses not to. But I'm looking forward to that time in the 7th inning of the big game with the 20-second thing. I'm dying to see what's going to happen there.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely going to be some big moments in the
But in
first
every
month,
game,
month
it's
and a
changing.
half.
It's college basketball. I mean, college football. You see, they want to change the rule about letting the clock run after the first down and stuff. And look, college football is college football. NFL is NFL. It's two different games.
Oh, totally.
Okay, so why do you want to keep adjusting the game so that it'll look more this way? No, keep them separate. That's why college is college. That's why NFL is NFL. That's why CFL is CFL. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that this MLB little thing that they put out, this little pictogram, just says what to expect. So 8,000 plus games in the minors. Testing in the minors led to quicker games, fewer strikeouts, and more stolen bases.
I like the more stolen bases. Like I said, it'll speed the game up. Now, before we go, because we are in Toronto, what do you think of the prospects of the Toronto Blue Jays this year?
I mean, I think they'll definitely be in the playoffs. Whether or not they're division winners is...
I think if they don't make the playoffs, the season's a failure.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? Because they are considered. I have now seen, and it's always Toronto in every sports because God bless America and all the other bullshit, but I keep MLB Network on religiously, and I think I've heard more Blue Jay chatter this year than I've seen in years.
Since what's his name? I'm blanking on the Canadian GM that they had.
Anthopoulos?
Anthopoulos, thank you.
Yeah,
Where he took those big swings with the Mets and the Marlins, those trades.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, that was the last time they got big media coverage from the States, which kind of makes me nervous that they're paying attention to us now.
I've heard a couple other people say that. Why are we nervous? If we've got the team, then we should do it. Now, my thing is I'm going to be wondering about the rotation. That's my question.
I mean, our top four is pretty... I mean, you're hoping for a bounce-back year from Barrios, obviously.
Oh, no, I think Barrios is going to be fine. And
I hope.
And Manoah and Grossman, that's
we got Bassett, too.
And we got Bassett, too. That was a nice pickup.
I know who you're worried about, our potential number 5 who just grew a beard.
Ah, come on. Kikuchi? Can I even say his right now?
Kikuchi.
You know what? If he comes in and wins 12 games... That would be amazing.
You think he's going to win 12 games?
I think he's out of the rotation by June. Unless he does something completely different. You know what's keeping him in the league? It's because he's a lefty.
Oh, yeah.
That's the main reason he's
their only lefty on their projected starting staff.
Exactly. But what's that going to do for us? The guy has, you know what, as someone said, if his ERA is under 4, we'll be good.
That's a win.
That's a win if he's under 4. And he's got to pitch 175 innings.
I think his ERA is going to balloon well over 4.5, though. That's my prediction.
Oh, gee.
I think even into the 5s.
Okay, so that means that what we're going to be worried about with this guy is the fact that he's going to tax our bullpen.
Yeah, that was his MO last year.
You know what I mean? Like, how many times we got to let this guy get out there? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, we got a strong bullpen this year by the looks of it, but, you don't want to stress him out, especially early on in the season.
I'm going to tell you this much. I don't know about anybody's bullpen until I see games played.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? Like, you can say, you know what I mean? People tell me I have nice hair until they touch it. Okay, so then that goes out the window. So until I see people on the field actually playing and throwing the ball. Now, do I think that the bullpen looks good? Of course. I think it's a nice additives, and I think that they changed the clubhouse culture.
Yes.
Which is huge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They got a few guys out of there that I don't know how you want to put it.
Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. If there's too many Latino players in your clubhouse, do you lose?
I mean,
I don't want to go there because I'm not going to differentiate or suddenly sound like I'm racist or whatever, but it seems that every team that loads up on the Latino players, something goes wrong in the dressing room. First of all, there's a language barrier. So if everybody on this side of the dugout speaking this language and every side of this...
Oh, that's bad. That's bad.
There you go. So my thing is this. What really changed it for me, and I know you want to talk about Bichette's contract, is that what really changed it for me, and I thought you might have known about this, is that one game last year where he hit the home run in the 7th inning.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Yeah, in the
I don't remember
7th inning,
that.
and they were losing by 5 or 6, and he came in. When they went to give him the home run jacket, he brushed it off. That's old school as it gets to
Oh
me.
yeah.
You
Well,
know
I mean,
what
if you're down, it's like whatever you're down in hockey, like 5-0, you score the goal. You don't like fucking like go up and celebrate. You're like, okay, whatever, like fist bump the bench.
And go
Yeah.
sit down.
Yeah,
Get your ass down.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so
No, I like that from Bichette.
I do
and I
too.
don't compliment him too much. You know that.
I know you don't. But the bottom line is, I look at it this way. The number one thing, and it goes back to Jim Leyland, Sparky Anderson, even Roberts in LA now says there has to be a certain kind of chemistry in your dugout for you to go through a 162 game season and win. If you don't have, that's a lot of time. Guys are coming to the ballpark 3 hours before game time, 162 games a year, travel, the whole enchilada. So if you don't have some kind of solid chemistry, like, okay, we've had back in the days, wherever Reggie Jackson played, you know the dugout was going to be a mess because you had Reggie. But there's winning will cover everything.
Oh, of course.
Okay, so but if you start not winning, and you had a problem, because we had some stretches last year where we lost games that we shouldn't have lost. And why did we lose them? Because these guys didn't learn how to play defense. Our corner defense in the outfield was absolutely brutal. And why?
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you're getting down into those leagues, and I don't want to diss or, how would you put it, be derogatory.
Sure.
But let's go down to the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico and stuff like that. What's the priority on those guys there?
Oh, you hit your way off the island.
You hit your way off the island. That's how it works. So what about defense?
Secondary.
Okay.
Maybe even tertiary. Who knows?
Point well taken.
Yeah.
My take on the matter is this. If you don't play defense, you don't win in any game that you play whatsoever. If you don't play defense, you're not going anywhere.
Agreed.
Oh, you know what I'm saying? So I think that the biggest thing about the Toronto Blue Jays is, and it should help our new bearded Guguchi, is that their defense...
How'd you say that again?
I don't even know how to say his name. Every time he comes out there and he's got that weird funky delivery...
I mean, that's the least of my concerns about him, but...
Okay, I'm just saying this much. Maybe the defense will save him a bit more. Because there was a couple games
I
he
hope.
pitched to his fly balls when our good guy, Toscar Hernandez, his first step is in. The ball's already going over your head, buddy, and your first step is going forward? Or what was it, Gurriel in the other field? Even though I'm worried about Gurriel being traded, that guy could hit 330 a hun this year.
His bat, well, yeah, but he's got an inconsistent bat for one, and like the defense just wasn't there.
Oh, the defense is horrible. You know the
Especially
thing about,
like for left field, like a lot of balls are coming your way there.
Oh, of course it is. But you know what? Another thing is about playing in Latin America is the other thing besides hitting is what they all love to do. They all love to show they got the big cannon arm.
Oh yeah.
That's their
Oh, he's
thing.
got both those guys had an arm.
Huge arms. They could throw it all over the park. It's just they couldn't catch the ball. Like, how many times last year have you seen that play where, what a throw to the third baseman? Well, you should have caught the fly ball in the first place. You
Yeah.
had to make a spectacular play because you screwed up. You know, you tied your shoes together, went, bounced off the wall, picked up the ball, threw a gun to third base, and oh my God, he got an assist. Shouldn't have got an assist for that.
No.
You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
he bailed himself out, essentially.
So before we leave this spring training talk, we're going to be talking a lot about the Blue Jays, and we're going to talk about next week before the season starts, our projections. Let's get spring training going a few times to see who's going to be playing, who's not. The big talk about Scherzer and Verlander being back together.
Yep.
Did you hear the owner of the San Diego Padres? He's basically saying we're winning or nothing.
Oh boy.
That was really off the chart.
Here we go.
Okay, so that was pretty cool. But
And the Jays have some interesting decisions to make in terms of like who to play in left field, who to play at second base.
agreed.
Because I see a lot of people projecting Whit Merrifield, which was a surprise to me. I thought that was Espinal's job to lose, honestly. But
If Espinal's not playing in the infield, I'm already freaking. I'm freaking. As a matter of fact, can we just do this, move him over to short and say, hey, Bichette, go over to second. That's my
you're preaching to the choir.
Exactly.
You're preaching to the choir.
So let's go down to Dunedin and say, listen, no disrespect against Bichette. Okay, nothing. But he'd be a better second baseman.
100%.
You know, so why is
No
it?
shame in that.
Okay, exactly. You're still going to be an everyday starter in Major League Baseball on a team that's contending for a World Series.
Yep.
So what more do you want? Go to second base, and you just got your 3 years. Now, here's where you and I differ. What's your take on the Bichette contract?
I think
again?
he just signed his way out of town.
Oh, damn. I thought it was respecting the man. Okay, so he doesn't have to go. He's not now. He will not be arbitration eligible.
No, he's not.
Okay, because that's what we're saying. We think of you so much, we don't want you to go to arbitration.
Yeah, I mean, but that's just like arbitration. Just from what I hear, these arbitration hearings, it just like muddies the water, though.
Oh, big time. And you know what? I really going back to the pack.
So I think the Jays are just saving themselves some headaches. That's what it looks like to me.
Isn't that the history of the Toronto Blue Jays? Going back to Pat Gillick, I think.
Yeah.
I'd like to know the numbers. I think they've had the least amount of players
Go to arbitration?
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. We should look into that.
We should, because every year, like, when do you see anybody? I'm talking going back to the '80s. They've never had guys really go to arbitration. That seems to be their MO. And you know what? I think that's better for morale. You know, we're talking about the chemistry. Of course. You know,
like going to one of your favorite shows on the radio, Overdrive. Jeff O'Neill says that, like, his arbitration hearing with Jim Rutherford and the Hurricanes was one of the worst experiences in his hockey career.
I heard that.
It's like they were trashing him.
No kidding, because you know why? He was slow and he wasn't playing defense. They forgot he scored 40 goals that year. Remember he scored 40? That was the year he scored 40. That was his biggest season, right?
Yep. Yeah, he was a 40-goal scorer just that one time.
That one time, and then he went into arbitration and they kicked him. But you know what? It's like any other thing in life. If you're going to save money, there's two sides to the game, and everything comes back to money. Everything,
the money game.
In every sport, every time.
Cash is king.
Cash is king. I seen that on the F1, but we'll get to that in a minute. Definitely, I believe this. I don't want anyone to go to arbitration because, like you said, then all of a sudden that guy brings that attitude to the clubhouse.
Yep.
So one bad apple is not a good thing, and especially with the Jays, who are considered, like, everywhere I'm turning, the
big contenders.
They're contenders. They got to be considered one of the teams in the league. And with the improved defense, picking up the extra starter, and hoping the guy with the beard can go through 5 innings on every start would be a good way to look at it.
I'm excited to see Dalton Varsho. I've heard a lot of good things about him.
Can't hit.
We'll see.
Okay, maybe you know what it is. I've heard this too, and it's happened to so many players in the league.
I mean, he's coming into a more hitter-friendly ballpark, though.
Oh, that's exactly what I was going to come on. He's at the Rogers Center now.
Yeah.
Whole new bag.
We've seen how Josh Donaldson transformed his numbers coming from Oakland to Toronto.
I'm saying that Chapman's going to have a 40 home run year this year.
I don't know about that.
Oh, for sure. I think that he was a little, because it was his first year in and he overplayed a bit. Is this his second year with Toronto?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so I think that he... you know, sometimes when an athlete gets into a new situation, they try too hard. Now this year...
You think that was it?
I think so, yeah. He overplayed a few times, overswung a few times. First of all, he should be more pissed because he didn't get the Gold Glove, which was absolutely insane.
Well, the defensive analytics weren't in his favor. Just throwing it out there.
Okay, but is it... My favorite word, analytics. Anyways, I thought at the key times during the games, he made the big plays. He's got a big arm, had a few errors, but I'm saying he's going to hit 40 home runs. I'm also saying that I think that the Jays can win the division. That's what I'm calling. I don't want the wild card. I'm thinking I'm going to win the division because I don't think the Yankees have enough pitching. I don't think the Red Sox are going to have enough pitching, and I think Tampa Bay is going to take a step back.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I mean, the Yankees are the ones that really worry me, though. I don't think the Red Sox are going to be very strong.
No.
Although Baltimore is the real dark horse here.
That's the one. That's one.
Because they come on strong that second half.
And they brought everybody back, and they got a couple other prospects that are coming up.
And they finished like right under 500, I believe, last year.
Around there, they were in the race for the wild card till the
very end, almost.
Till the very end. So that could be the sleeper team in the division because there's going to be no slouches.
No.
In the American League as usual. But anyways, in the next couple weeks, Mr. Milani and Mr. Cruz are going to have their annual baseball preview episode. So keep your ears out, keep your eyes open. Anything you want to tell us about it? I can't wait to see the pitch count and I can't wait to see the timing, the 20-second rule.
It's gonna be fun.
Oh,
it's gonna be fun.
Okay.
And a big shout out to John Schneider, manager of the Blue Jays, for saving someone's life.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely
amazing. Giving the Heimlich maneuver at a restaurant
and got a beer.
And got a beer out of it.
That's amazing. I think that another thing that can't be understated, I want to welcome Don Mattingly to Toronto.
Oh, hell yeah.
If you're listening to The House That Happens, please welcome Don Mattingly. I will say seriously, in my old age, he's one of my 10 favorite players of all time.
Wow.
I'll put him at number 10. Have you seen Don Mattingly in his prime? He was the consummate baseball player. If it wasn't for a bad back, the guy would be in the Hall of Fame. For 3 or 4 years...
I've heard that take before, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. For 3 or 4 years, he was the best player in... They called him Mr. Baseball.
Wow.
He was the
I
best.
didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. They called him Mr. I think 3 or 4 years, in my opinion. He won MVP.
Yep, he did.
He was the best player in baseball for 3 or 4 years, bro. The best glove at first base, hit all over the place. He was amazing. Please welcome Don Mattingly to the GTA, hopefully to the house that happens, and hopefully one step farther to Shoey's Bar and Grill.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
I just know Don Mattingly from his appearance on The Simpsons mainly, but
That's pretty cool.
Mattingly, cut those sideburns.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because then they got in trouble too with his haircut with Steinbrenner and all that shit. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Don Mattingly, welcome. We'd like to bring to the table Mr. Peter Ross. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
We're going to give you a little bit of a credentials here. First of all, he thinks he knows something about football, but we'll discuss that later.
I know quite a bit about football and its history, too.
Okay, that's good.
like
See,
it.
but we're going to get that later in the thing. But right now,
NFL and CFL. So.
yeah, we're going to we'd like to bring you in here because we want to talk about this is the hockey portion of our show.
Right.
And of course, if you've ever been on the show, there's one thing I've been saying earlier in the year, and now I'm backtracking a little bit because Mr. Milani here, if you slap him hard enough, leaves will fall out of his ears.
Oh, that's too bad.
Okay, and any
You know, and especially around playoff time, that's really bad.
Buddy, you don't have to remind me.
okay, we're not going to gang up on him because I sent him a depends. Text recently, but we won't talk about that anyway.
I told you I got my depends ready for the playoffs.
I cracked up when I seen that. I fell off the couch laughing. But in any event, we're getting down to the nitty gritty in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
Things are getting tight. Right. But the first thing we like to talk about, because we are the house that happens and we're in Toronto, Mr. Milani, when is your team going to stop losing stupid games to bad teams?
Are you talking about Chicago?
Columbus?
Columbus, sure, but like Chicago's been on it a little bit. They're 1-4 in a row.
Stop it. So what?
Patrick Kane looks like a man possessed.
That's
they
all
beat
he is.
Dallas, they beat Vegas, they beat Toronto in that stretch.
Okay.
But you see, the problem is not the regular season. In the regular season, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I even as a dyed-in-the-wool Habs fan, like the owner of this place is, we're both big Habs fans. I've been lifelong Habs fans. The Leafs' problem is the postseason. They're fantastic in the regular season.
Okay, well
and they're a great example of on ice entertainment in the regular season. It's in the postseason where they lose, where they forget how to play.
Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm going to keep that in mind because, by the way, this is a house that happens. You do know that we keep tabs on the Habs.
Of course,
that's what we do. So I want to hold that thought for a second because I want to get back to Mr. Milani here. We've been arguing about this the last couple of weeks. Okay, and what I'm thinking about that is that you can't lose those games because my opinion is this: what's going on with the team? This is when you're supposed to be peaking. You can't take a night off. Now, listen. Did you see the game last night?
I did not.
Okay, Minnesota checked them to death. It was a very entertaining hockey game. But when you got the scoring power that Toronto has, they only got one goal last night. What's the goalie's name on Minnesota?
Gustafson.
Yeah. He had a great game.
Yeah.
It was a highly entertaining game and went both ways. My guy, Kiprusoff, looked amazing.
Oh,
what was his name?
Great.
Samsonov?
Kipper still around?
No, the
No,
guy
he's
in Minnesota, the forward.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Kaprizov.
Kaprizov. That's it. Okay. Anyways.
That guy's flying, man.
Oh, he was him and Austin Matthews were the two best players on the ice last night, even though Nylander got the overtime goal.
Yeah.
My theory is this. You know why Nylander is having the season that he's having?
Because he plays with Matthews.
100% unadulterated. Don't you agree now? You know what it is? It gives him open space.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
Like more than I've seen. And last night, he got the overtime goal, but Nylander had 3 or 4 glorious opportunities. He got robbed.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that right now, Austin Matthews is the best 26-goal scorer in the league by far.
He might not even hit 40 this year.
I think he's going to get 40. He's got enough games up. But did you?
I think he's going to just miss 40. That's my prediction.
But he's playing great.
I don't care about the goal numbers, though. That's my point.
He is playing very well. I mean, it takes time for people to really develop in a team. And I think what happened with that player is that he started off playing very well, and then the whole contract dispute as we're talking about, that whole thing was protracted, and his father got involved, and that takes your mind away from the game. You really have to, as a professional athlete, you have to be able to do something like that.
He's Swedish.
There are a lot of great.
No
Matt
reason to get
Sundin-
derogatory here.
Swedish.
Matt Sundin was one of the toughest and best.
What are you
players
talking about?
of
Let's
his
get this
time.
guy
He
out of here.
hates
This
Matt
guy's bringing
Sundin.
up. We bring the
Matt
guy to
Sundin
the
was
table.
great.
First thing you bring up, Matt Sundin. Get this security. Get this guy out of here. Matt Sundin. You know what
Matt
Matt
Sundin
Sundin
played for the
most
Leafs.
overrated player in the history of Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay, I'm going to go back. We're going to research this right now.
Most overrated in the history of the
Come on.
Leafs.
You know what that guy do? No, he's not. Here's what he did. And you check the numbers. I'm going to look it up. Go check a season of Toronto Maple Leafs. Here's what Sundin did. He scored 6 goals in 4 games, disappeared for 10. Scored 8 goals in 5 games, disappeared for 10. Go check the numbers. The guy never back checked. He couldn't play defense. Nah.
Can I answer that?
Nah, we don't need to talk about Sundin, but go ahead. Let's get back to Nylander.
I just want to answer that quickly. I don't want to take a lot of time. The fact of the matter is, when
Did he win a Stanley Cup?
When you when you're playing
You win
with
the Stanley
team,
Cup as a team.
Yeah, when you're playing with a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs, and what you've got is spotty. You've got a spotty team at best. You're not going to be as consistent. You're not gonna go 30 games and score a goal or score a point like other players would on other teams.
Did you hear what he just said?
Did
you hear what this guy just said? Peter, I'm going to eat you for breakfast right now.
Okay.
You guys went to the conference finals those days with Sundin.
Yeah.
You
Couple
guys
times.
and who was your goaltenders?
Cujo.
Okay, and Ed Belfour. Who were some of your defensemen?
We didn't go to the conference finals with Belfour, though.
But you went with Cujo.
Cujo twice.
Okay, and with Sundin on the team.
Yes, he was.
Okay, so there you go. It's
With
not
with defense that was kind of being held together
right.
by popsicle sticks and glue, though.
Oh, so he's saying it's a team game. He's a team
But
game.
they
So
didn't win
I
the Stanley
know, I'm
Cup.
agreeing with him.
But they didn't
What?
win the Stanley Cup
I'm agreeing
because they
with
weren't
him.
a good.
You agree with him?
Of
Yeah.
course,
No.
they weren't. They didn't win the Stanley Cup in those years. Like they never win because they're the Leafs. But they never win the Stanley Cup because they never have a good enough team. Even though they might have some great pockets and
Some
as
good
you
star
say,
power,
some great star power. And there might be 10 games or 8 games here. You have to have the glue that holds it together. The Leafs never have any glue.
Okay, so
when
what
it comes to
you're
the
telling me
Stanley
What we
is-
Cup.
talk about, Cruz, what we talk about all the time. What would you rather have, that number 1 goalie or the number 1 D? We talk about the D. Did the Leafs ever have that guy?
No, they
There
didn't.
you go.
But they had the front end. And what I'm saying is this: is that
Front
Matt-
ends don't win you championships, though.
But sometimes I'm going, okay, we're going to discuss this about Carolina in a second. This is my point. Okay? Sundin was supposed to be your go-to guy. Okay? How many times? Look at his playoff numbers. They were always down from his regular season numbers. I almost got punched out in bars because I used to do this. I used to stand up with the game on and I go, let's listen for Matt Sundin's name during the game. Oh, there we go.
You admit, though, that the commentators are bullshit sometimes, though.
Agreed. I'm not going to go there, but I remember, guys, I'd be in Toronto, a great place called Subjunction back when I worked at American Standard way back in the day. In any event, I used to stand in bars and say, let's see how many times that we hear Matt Sundin's name. Now, wait a second. He's the number 1 player on the team,
Right.
top 20 scorer in the NHL. There'd be 5-6 minutes of a hockey game. You ever hear a hockey game? You don't hear McDavid's name for 6 or 7 minutes when he's playing.
Oh,
But
sure.
you could.
When?
No, I mean, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, you know. So you wouldn't hear, and I'd go, "Hey guys, and we heard Matt Sundin," and I hear, "Cruz, shut up, man, shut up." And I go, "Hey, let's listen for Matt Sundin's name again." I think he's very overrated. Oh, and you know what? What a great guy is he for the community. When's he ever come back? When's he ever in this thing? Because he's back in Sweden living like a king, and I give him
That's
credit
his
for
home,
that.
though.
I give him, and he got all the money and stuff. I'm just saying that Matt Sundin, to me, I think that the Leafs should have got somebody else instead. More Dougie Gilmore's.
Let's go with your thing.
Let's go with
about
Nylander.
them leading, talking about Sweden. Now I can sort of a hockey historian. Let's take a look at how the Leafs have treated their alumni in general terms. Recently, it's been a little bit better. You know as well as I do. You're a Leafs fan, and I've lived in Toronto. Born and raised in Toronto, but a Habs fan. One of the problems with the Leafs is they do not treat their alumni in historical terms. They have not treated their alumni very well.
Okay,
Number
they had
one.
a Ballard
Number two,
issue.
No, that's
Ballard
even
is that's
even after
after
Ballard.
that.
He's right.
Number two, they don't do ceremonies very well. Whenever there's supposed to be a ceremony about a historical thing, they always get it wrong, and that's a part of the culture of Toronto. That's a part of the mindset of Toronto. But the thing is, the mindset of the mindset of the Toronto big business Anglo-Saxon culture is that, hey, you know what? You know what, buddy? You do your work and then you get out of here, right? Like
I think that's bullshit. That's total bullshit. Toronto Maple Leafs alumni is one of the best in the league right now.
Recently.
Yeah, but that's a recent thing. That's not since Roger and Bell took over.
Only recently.
I don't know. I'll argue that recently.
It's always been garbage.
It's always because of the Ballard era. I'll just say it's the Ballard era. Then tell me this, guys. Why does everybody want to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Because of the moolah that they can make.
That's nuts because everyone loves Toronto. Come on, stop it, guys.
The moolah you can make here.
Let's go back to Gary Roberts.
The moolah
Serge,
you can
get
make
back here. Come back here. Get in here, Serge. I'm going to tell you this much. Go back. Look at Shane Corson. Look at Gary Roberts.
Older guys who came here for a big payout.
Because they couldn't. No, they didn't get the payout. They did. They came here because they wanted to. Agreed?
Come here, and they won nothing.
They won nothing. Hold on. They won
nothing.
Too. Don't lie.
That's right. And they won nothing when they came. Gary Roberts came here from Calgary where he won the one Stanley Cup.
Well, Carolina
he won nothing. Carolina. Ron Francis at 41. And yeah, he loves Toronto. Did he win anything? No. So a lot of these guys you're talking about who came at the end of their careers came here and did nothing.
Okay, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the culture of the team.
Yeah,
if the culture is that bad, why do people want to play in Toronto
because
so badly,
these guys want to finish their career in Toronto. And
because of the money, they want to come here. Watch Tavares. Tavares is going to be my point. When Tavares' contract comes up, he's going to do a
sweetheart deal.
He's going to do a sweetheart deal. Come on, because people want Serge. Come on,
after the big
so what?
But he got the big hit, but he deserved it at the time.
I'm not saying he didn't.
Okay. That's nice.
What am I doing defending the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yeah, I know. You're defending them. Why are you defending their alumni? The worst alumni.
Because all you hear is good. No, not. Okay, I will say in the Ballard era.
No.
Now it's good.
Now it's great. The last 10 years, they say
the last
it's the best
5
in the
years.
league.
No, it's not best
No.
in the league.
No, it's not.
Montreal's is the best.
Montreal's
is the best. We know that.
Biased.
No, Boston is
No,
good too.
that's the fact.
The Boston alumni.
That's right.
Hey, the LA Kings treat their players.
And the LA
They
Kings
do.
too.
They
They're
do.
another good one.
Bruins.
I heard St. Louis has a really good alumni
St. Louis is a
association,
great
yeah.
alumni. So those are teams there too. Yeah. Now I'm saying this is part of the problem with the Toronto Maple Leafs is because of the Ballard Stavros days and the teachers union being involved.
That's
So
right.
they really screwed up a lot what was going on. So once they moved that aside and they could get back to, which we should give a lot of credit to, more credit to Brendan Shanahan than people should. The problem is until you guys win a playoff series,
that's right. They
then
haven't won a
nothing's going to
playoff
change.
I agree.
That's going to be.
So they haven't won a playoff series. So the whole thing about players, when you're talking about players wanting to come here at the end of their career, they're wanting to come here and stay at the end of their career because they're going to get money and it's going to be easier on them physically. I think that's one of the reasons why they're coming. Well,
I don't agree with that.
But they haven't. But the proof is in the pudding. These guys who you say come here at the end of the career, they haven't produced anything here, and they haven't. And for the last few years, they haven't even won.
They got John Tavares. Let's look at this seriously. Okay, we have a salary cap situation now in the NHL. So let's cut to the chase on this.
Right.
There's a lot of guys along the league that would have played here. You know, Kachuk would have came here. Huberdeau would have came here. Who's the guy that went to Florida?
Kachuk.
Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah. But
The problem with they would have come here. The problem with this is right now it's a salary.
Gaudreau would have come here.
I'm not sure if he would, but there's a couple other defensemen. I read an article about this, but here's the problem: it's a salary cap. So Toronto has the big four.
Yeah.
Okay, now that they have the big four, you just can't bring in another guy.
But whose fault is that? That's their fault.
No, that's not their fault. That's a salary. How's it Leafs' fault when you got a salary cap?
Well, look.
How's it Leafs' fault?
No, I'm with you on this one. Like it's a salary cap. Like the league basically punishes you for drafting and developing well.
100%.
That's a big problem with the salary cap. It broke
the Leafs-
Chicago. It sent
LA.
Tampa Bay.
No, hold on
LA.
a
It sent
second.
Tampa Bay a few
Can
steps back.
we go
recently.
back a few steps? It broke Chicago. Didn't Chicago win 3 Stanley Cups in 5 seasons?
And where are they now?
No. But hold on a second. No, but
So is that the
but hold on a
payoff?
second. In the last 15 years, didn't Chicago win the Stanley Cup 3 times?
LA won it
No,
twice.
did they?
Yes.
Okay. Did the Leafs win it at all in the
No.
last 15? Okay. So the Leafs are.
How
so the
did
Leafs are in a problem
Chicago
of their own
win?
making.
Bro, cut back here. Cut back here. Let's get to our original premise here.
Right.
When Chicago won the 4, guess what? And this is why the Leafs are smarter than Chicago, okay? They went all in with these big guys, gave them the mad salaries,
Right.
okay? And then these salaries went on for years.
Yes.
Okay, so guess what happened is they had nowhere to fit pieces in. You know what Toronto has done, which is just amazing? They've learned to fit the guys in underneath. If you look at this Toronto team right now, and I can't believe I'm defending your team, Melanie.
I'm not
Okay,
defending
but
them
anyways,
at all.
look at their 2 lines below. They got O'Reilly in. Why did they get this O'Reilly guy in? Because Dubas is a freaking genius when it comes to salary
No,
cap.
I'm sorry. He's
how can you say that, guy?
He's doido.
Oh, I don't know. Bro, come on.
No.
He got this O'Reilly guy in. He made a deal with Minnesota where they took
Oh, my buddy
salary
that's a
cap.
Minnesota fan is so pissed about that.
It have to be good. I mean, that's
Except for they're already like pressed up against the cap. Like, oh, we'll take a 4th round pick
exactly.
for $2 million.
And you know what? That's my.
Okay.
I'm trying to get Pete to understand this.
No, I'm trying to understand.
If you win the
point
Stanley Cup, it's worth it.
No, but hold on a second. You're saying, well, the Leafs have done this. They've done these amazing things. Chicago made it pay off by winning 3 Stanley Cups in a span of 4 years or 5 years. In 5
Amazing.
years.
6 years.
So
LA,
it's
yeah.
6 years.
Yeah.
So they won. They made it
So
pay
it
off.
was worth
the
it.
Leafs never make anything pay off.
Okay, so we're gonna. Okay,
now,
and
if
I
it does
agree.
this
I
year,
agree.
If it does this
Well, they
year,
got to win a
I'll take
playoff
it back.
round. No, I'm not taking
They
back
gotta go to the
nothing.
conference finals this year.
No.
They gotta
go
no,
conference
no,
finals
What
rest
I'm
of the
saying
year.
is,
What have I been saying all year?
but what I'm saying is, I'll take it back. If the Leafs win the Stanley Cup, I'll take it all back. But I don't think they're going to win the Stanley Cup.
I don't think they are either.
And the fact of the matter is, all these wonderful moves and these wonderful little things add up to nothing. And they don't win.
Okay.
They don't win.
Okay. Let's talk about it this way. Okay. When Chicago was winning all those Stanley Cups, Toronto was missing the playoffs.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
For
you don't
10
have to remind
years,
me. I
right? You
remember
remember that?
Yeah,
10
okay,
years?
okay.
I remember.
We got it. Okay.
I was watching every game in
remember
those
that.
years.
Okay, so now let's backtrack. Now let's build upon this, okay? So the model seemed to be what LA did and what Chicago did. It paid off. You get the chip, it's a payoff. I got it, okay?
Yeah.
So now what is your option now to your fan base? You had all of this glory for so many years, and now you can't even get a sniff at the playoffs. So hold on one second before I continue. The idea of a team is to build so that you are consistently involved in the game. Look at our Montreal Canadiens.
Yes.
We're an up and down team.
Yes.
We get really good, we're up and down. We should build more. So what I'm saying is this. In 5 years from now, the Toronto Maple Leafs are still going to be a contender. I'm going to say Chicago will be rebuilding to get back there, so they got their Stanley Cup. So where are they going to be in that space? Now, here's something I'm really going to puke all over my shoes about when I say this is that the template should be the Boston Bruins. Okay, now they haven't
But
won
like,
the Stanley
Boston,
Cup.
but no one
Yeah,
else.
but
How do
Boston-
they get those guys to like take those pay cuts? Let's just call them.
I hear
Those-
they pay them in the minors more. Is that a rumor?
Yeah, but you can only pay so much, guy, and like I don't know about that.
There's something about where do they get all these defensemen? They
I don't know.
develop in the system and they brought them up.
Well, they traded for a few of these guys.
2 of them, but they got
Yeah.
them when they were really young.
But
So
playing for the
they're
Bruins for many people is like I grew up as a defenseman, and even though I'm a Guy Lafleur fan and
I hate Bobby Orr.
and a Montreal Canadiens fan, Bobby Orr. The reason why I started to play defense when I started to play because I really didn't have much of a set. I had never played organized hockey, so I started to play defense. Bobby Orr was my first defensive hero, and I bought Victoriaville. I had my dad get me Victoriaville sticks just because of Bobby Orr. So I mean, there is an aura around playing in Boston. There is a sports culture there,
One of the best cities in North America. We're not gonna deny that.
And a lot of people a lot of guys would rather play there. It has the mixture of history, of a working class ethic, and still being somewhat world class. It's not on the level of New York
'Cause they got
or
Harvard?
Chicago.
It's kind of like a tier 2.
Yeah,
North American
tier
city,
2.
yeah.
But it is,
It
but
should
it
be
is
tier 1, 'cause
But it
you
has,
have
but it has so much of its own aura.
Okay,
and
so
culture
now you're
about
just
it.
you're
A lot of
playing
people like it.
you're playing right into my hand.
Yeah.
Toronto doesn't have that.
In a different way.
We don't
no,
have
no,
the
no.
winning culture.
No, you're
different-
getting it now. That's
in
what I'm saying.
in a different
the
way.
Shanahan era should be positive, okay?
In a different way.
Okay, so now let's get back. Let's take this full circle. What we're bringing up is a play of Nylander.
Yes,
Okay, that's
okay.
how we got started on here,
playing
and Matt
very well.
Sundin, and we got way off.
Career season.
Okay, and we got way off track
Yes,
here
yes.
because my premise is this. I agree. If Toronto doesn't win a playoff series this year, oh my God.
I don't even want to think about what happens.
Oh my God, you're going to be
Yeah,
depressed.
if
You're going to
they-
beat your new girlfriend.
But even,
don't say that.
but even,
Oh,
but
sorry,
even if
Stephanie, that's a joke.
But even
that's a bad
but
joke.
even if they do win one series, they have to get at least to the conference final to make any of this worthwhile.
100%,
If they
100%.
if they win, like let's say they win 4 games. Let's say they play Montreal this year and they win 4 games to nothing. They they just crucify the Habs, which everybody will be happy, and they lose in that second round. Man, people are going to be putting foots up behinds for sure, and they will deserve that.
I'm just saying that in my humble opinion, and I've been living in this city for 40 years, and I'm a big sports fan too, okay? And I've seen what's going on, and I'm saying this: I'm a Detroit Lions disciple. I watch how the city of Detroit did things, and they did all screwed up because the Detroit Red Wings has got a weird culture. They've been up and down over the years,
but they've
and I
had
think
their
They
periods.
prioritized
they
that
had-
playoff streak more than anything, and that was their downfall.
Exactly, and that's what I'm getting. So my thing is this: is I really think that the Chicago was never built for the long term, but they got the chips. The Kings were never built for the long run, but they got the chips. So the chips is worth it because remember all the players that have to give up along the way that they keep dropping them.
Yeah.
What Toronto has done has built a team. Like, look at their last six forwards with Bunting, Kerfoot. These guys are all out there playing solid hockey, two-way hockey. You know what I mean?
But
Your
not in the
boy Hall.
playoffs.
Okay, well, this is the thing. But what happens is it's like in F1. Now that I watch F1, what it is, sometimes you build the car, you get knocked off the track.
Yeah.
But you keep building that car, and eventually you're going to get there because you've decided this is how your foundation and this is how you're going to go forward. In my opinion, I see Toronto doing that, and I see Toronto as being solid for the next 5 or 6 years. The only
Giving
thing that
themselves more kicks at the can.
you got it. That's what I'm saying. But you got to
they
get
could be,
where
but-
Peter, where you're right, and I have to acquiesce to that is the fact that Chicago has the chips. LA's got the chips. So you got to do that.
Yeah.
But what you got to do is you got to look what you're going to sustain along the long time. Like all of a sudden attendance is falling in Chicago.
Yeah, but you
Attendance
can't.
is falling
but
in
hold on a
LA.
second. But hold on a second.
Toronto never has
But hold
an
on a second.
attendance fall.
Can I cut into that? Toronto is a unique situation. As I talked about the Toronto business culture, Toronto has made over the last 70 or 80 years a very strong connection with its corporate community. And since the Toronto Maple Leafs,
What's that got to do with winning?
Okay, that has everything. But that has everything
They
to do
haven't
with
won.
hockey.
Hold on,
no,
let him
but that's not what I'm not talking about. The winning. What I'm saying is, with the corporate community, they have formed. They have formed what a lot of people call a corporate welfare system. Whereas these corporate guys come in, they pay the tickets, whether the Leafs win or not. It is a deal. It is a deal between the corporations and the Leafs that these men will come and spend money. With the Toronto Maple Leafs and sometimes with their $250 an hour friends, close $250 an hour female friends. They might come in and spend. They're going to come in and spend money. Other cities do not have that sort of culture, that sort of cult of business culture that Toronto has, and also Chicago. In Chicago, the Blackhawks are not the number one thing in the city all the time. Toronto is
not by a
always
long
the
shot.
number one.
What? No.
Not by a
The
long
Bears
shot.
are number one. The Bears
the Bears are number one. The Toronto Maple Leafs have always been number one, except for a period from the late '60s until maybe the mid '80s when the Toronto Argonauts probably
They were second place. The Argos were never first.
No, they weren't.
They were never. Nobody touched.
I think I would challenge you.
I would challenge. No,
No way.
The Argos.
No way.
And here's
In that
proof.
period,
Here's proof in the pudding.
in that time,
How many people showed up for the Toronto Argonauts in 1982? How many exhibition stadiums?
The average was
40,000.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was
Maybe
about 40,000.
40,000.
It was about 40,000.
What is the average Toronto Argo attendance this last year?
No. But what I'm saying is, in that period,
he's saying
in
back
that period,
then. Yeah.
between 1967 and 1983, they were, in fact, at many times at many sports banquets, because back then they used to have these sports banquets where Bobby Orr, where Bill Simons of the Argos, where Russ Jackson and those guys would show up, and in those days, in 1969-70, in a city like Toronto, especially when the Argos were doing well, Bill Simons was more popular in Toronto than Bobby Orr was in those days. Now,
Bobby Orr was never a Leaf, though.
there is no. Well, he wasn't. Now,
I don't know
there is
about
no.
that.
No, now
That's a
there
stretch,
is
bro.
now there is no comparison. But in those days, a guy like Russ Jackson was many times the most popular athlete in Canada, whether hockey or not.
Was Mike Palmatier popular?
To a certain extent, but never
That guy
never
was
as popular.
on everything.
Yeah, but never.
Mike Palmetier
but
was
never
more
as,
popular than Bill Simons.
No,
and
not
Mike
no, he
Palmetier
wasn't.
was
No, he
nobody.
No way.
Nobody.
There's no way.
First of all, the
there's
economics.
absolutely no way.
Mr. Milani, the economics of the
Mr.
situation,
Ross.
economics of the situation cannot.
Yeah, no, they
you
can
cannot
be
compare.
in that
So
era.
let's get
I'm
ready-
talking
let's
about
get-
that era.
okay,
But let's go
okay.
back. Let's go back to
to-
what we're
let's
talking
get
about.
We're getting a little bit.
Yeah,
off
we're-
the-
we
I
got-
think
we
we
got
gotta
off
wrap this
topic.
up soon.
Yeah, we got-
Yeah, because I see the time. We don't have a
Go
lot of
ahead,
time.
go ahead.
Okay, my take on it is this, bro. I'm saying if you win the chip, that's
Yes,
great. So
sure.
so LA got the chip, Chicago got the chip. But here's what a lot of
Yeah.
people are saying. Is it worth it that you run your car till it goes right off the cliff because then it takes
Yes.
you forever to bring another car back?
Yes,
So what
I
happens
agree.
in the league?
You agree
I
with
agree
that?
because I agree because you know why?
LA
because
and
you know
Chicago
why?
ran them off the cliff.
No, because you know what?
Toronto's
the
not
Chicago,
doing that.
The Chicago Blackhawks won before this last area with Patrick Kane and these guys when they won those Stanley Cups. When was the last time Chicago won the Stanley Cups? Does anybody remember the year?
1961.
1961. Who was their star player then?
Stan Mikita and Bobby Hall.
John Mikita, Bobby Hall, and the goalie was Glenn Hall.
Yeah.
And Pitt Martin. I
Okay.
don't know if Pitt Martin
Okay,
was
now
there.
he was there.
But my point is this. It was such a long time that that it was necessary to get something done. Whatever the cost, they had not only, well, first of all, they only won one Stanley Cup in that era when a lot of people thought that they should have won 2 or 3. Now, the fact of the matter is they have had this, they have had in recent times a dynasty, which people will remember. And people will say, okay, look, we might not make the Stanley Cup playoffs for the next 20 years. But the fact of the matter is we had a decade where we won 3.
I don't
and
want
when
that.
that happened,
Do you want that?
I do. I want it.
So you
I
want
would-
that?
I would rather give myself more kicks to the can.
Oh, me
At
too.
least
Would you?
I'd
Yeah,
rather win
that-
3 in 10 years, and then maybe
do
for
nothing
20
for
years.
have a
20?
decade of misery.
No, but that is
it's-
how things work in sports, guys.
No,
except for
no,
teams like
I don't think so.
Except for teams like the Yankees,
that means
it doesn't work like that.
No, that means you're a throw a dice guy. Let's
it's
see what's
not
going
a
to. Yes,
throw a
it
dice.
is.
No. What
I
I'm
want
saying
my
is-
organization.
No, let me explain.
No,
Let me explain.
I can't let
me-
you
me
explain. We're running out of time, so be real quick.
Okay, let me explain. My thing is that you set up for 5 or 10 years a situation where this team for a decade is going to be a contender and win, let's say, 3 to 5 championships in whatever sport. Right? You set up that time, and it takes time to set up that time. And like everything that goes up, it must come down.
But
you're
like-
not going to.
you
You're
can
that,
throw-
those three championships that you won in 10 years, those 9 playoff seasons, those great attendances. That's not going to continue for 60 years
No,
straight.
I get
It's
that,
not
but
going to
like,
happen.
you can throw everything at the wall, and there's still no guarantee you're going to get a championship. That's the
but
problem.
you have to do it. You have to do it so that
I don't
so
think
that you
so.
can.
I think there's
so
a smarter
either.
way to run it. I think there's smarter ways to run your hockey
Okay,
club.
let's before we go, let's just look at some of the examples here. The New England Patriots.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're 20 years into the game.
Yeah, they're 20 years into
Los
the game, but they're going to
Angeles-
be down for quite a long time. Trust me,
Oh,
the
I don't
Patriots
think
ain't
so.
winning. The Patriots are not going to have another dynasty, maybe ever. They had
The
their
NFL
time.
is designed. The NFL is designed not to have
That's right.
dynasties.
Yeah, but the Patriots
fact
did.
that- exactly, and now it's looking like the San Francisco 49ers have been developing some kind of thing where they're going to continually be there. And
I
it's
think I
49ers.
don't
They've
think
been
so.
to 3
I think
conference
that,
championships
well,
games and-
Yeah,
Kansas
but only one
City.
Super Bowl.
I think
KC.
Kansas City is the one that's going to be for the next few
it's
years.
your players too, but I
Yeah.
mean, you're going to fall off the cliff after that. I'm more of a proponent of believing that you build. You this is where you are. This is where you are. This is your foundation, and all I want to do is I want to change the windows, or I want to get a new roof, or I want to rebuild the garage, or I want to do more landscaping. I don't want to have to build a new house every 3 years. Because you're always
That's
behind.
exhausting.
Exactly.
Well,
don't you agree?
I
don't want
that. But I'm coming from it from the fan perspective.
But the
Exactly.
fact of
That's
the
what
matter is, if you get a decade where you can win 3 or 4 championships,
That's amazing.
That is something that most teams will not do in a 60-year span. So if you can win 4 championships, or even
One.
let's say one. Well, the least it would be
One.
1. But let's say 3. If you can win 3 or more championships in a 10-year span, you're doing something that most sports fans around the world, and I know because I've lived in Brazil, I lived in Belo Horizonte, and I've seen people whose soccer teams didn't win anything, never won a league championship. All right, and that's a sport, with relegation and
Okay.
and what do you call
I
it?
think we're getting into something completely
Yeah,
different.
but no,
Okay,
what I'm
okay,
saying
anyways,
is, what I'm
we're-
saying is, you're having a period of production. You need to produce something. You
Okay.
can't just sit and say, well, in hopes we'll have something. next
Nobody's
year.
hoping
No.
that
But
Toronto
if you're
Maple
throwing,
Leafs.
but if you're throwing everything against the wall, you're still hoping though.
You're,
don't you
Yes.
you're not hoping. What I'm saying is, if you can produce what Chicago produced. I'm not saying anybody. I'm just saying if you can produce what Chicago can produce, then mission accomplished.
Okay, that's
That's
great.
my point.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this. You talk about the money and the corporate situation and all that. Every team in the league wants to have a solid foundation.
Sure.
Okay, not only that, you want to be able to get on TV because you're a contender and you want to have sponsorships. When
course.
you are losing, things go away quickly. Chicago,
Not with Toronto. Not
no,
with the Leafs.
but they're an exception.
That's what I'm saying. They're an exception.
There's Toronto, there's the Yankees, there's the Dallas Cowboys, there's the Lakers.
Yeah.
There's certain what do you call them, outliers in
Yeah.
every sport. Manchester United,
Yeah.
who are still not there, and stuff like that.
Sure.
The bottom line is this: if you don't have a proper foundation, you're
That's
not going
right.
anywhere. And I don't believe in that hit the wall and come back bullshit. Because what's going to happen is you're going to screw up your fan base. Your corporate sponsorship's going to walk away because you're not going to win. Look at in the F1.
Yep.
They lost. They said, "We out of here."
Yeah,
You
but
know,
if
we
you
gotta wrap
but
this
if you
up,
don't
though.
win,
We gotta wrap
but if
this
you
up.
don't win for 40 or 50 years, but you have a stable team, then you're still not winning anything. You're no better off. You have to
I
have
don't
have
know.
championships. No. But
I
if
agree.
the goal is
championship
championships,
always,
then
always. That's
there
the
you go.
ultimate. However, and I hate them. There's certain teams that you have to respect because the way the bill are going to be every year.
Yeah.
And you know the number one team you look at is that. Well, how do we figure out the Tampa Bay Devil Rays?
well,
Contending every year, right?
Yep.
Every
Yeah.
year they're there.
but I from what I hear, South Florida, you're getting 10,000 people a game. So
Well, that's because that's because of logistical reasons.
Yeah,
Because the
I
ballpark's
understand.
built
I
in
understand.
a yeah.
But also,
And Tampa Bay's also Yankee
because
town.
Yeah.
it's also because Florida has been so saturated with sports
we know
recently that it's knocked out thing. I'm only saying, I'm not putting anybody down. I'm just saying that Florida's a different situation because they
For
put
sure.
too
But
many
there's-
teams.
I
Two
agree.
hockey teams, two baseball teams,
Okay.
3 football
all in
teams.
like the last 30 years.
Yeah, all in the
basically,
last
yeah.
30 years. Too much. Yeah.
But I would rather have a team that contends on a regular basis. Anyway, Peter, we're going to have you back another
Yeah,
time,
definitely.
but we'll discuss this
We
further.
weren't able to get to a lot of the hockey talk we want to get to. We weren't able to get the team. No,
Sorry,
no.
I
This is
sorry
a good,
for
this is a
long.
good conversation.
Yeah, very good
Don't make
conversation.
any apologies.
No, 100%
Yeah,
don't.
so we didn't get to that. We got to get to that next week. Toronto FC, we had some things to talk about. And Formula One, I know you've been watching.
Okay,
Drive
so
to
I
Survive.
want to go out the door on this, and we were talking about the development of sports.
Do
and
it
I'm
quick,
saying,
'cause we don't have
okay,
much time.
Okay, and the history of games. We talked about this earlier in the show, where Mr. Milani said that people should learn the history of the game because then you appreciate
Yes.
when you take it forward. I have never been an F1 fan, and we want to do it. And Mr. Milani said he wanted to bring some of the F1 to our show. So what he did is he says, "Cruz, go take a look at the history of F1, which is right in front of me." In a show called Drive to Survive.
At least
I've
the
had-
last few years.
The last few years. Anyways, I knew Aaron Senna, I knew Nicky Lauda, I knew Jackie Stewart, I'll call that kind of stuff. But what it has done for me is that I've gone in, I'm suggesting this to everybody, Mr. Milani, which is very true, is that now that I've watched these 4 seasons, I'm going to watch the 5th season, I'm going to be paying attention to the first F1 race this year.
March 5th.
March 5th, yes.
In Bahrain.
In Bahrain. And I'm going to be watching because what I've understood is that I've never understood the culture or the development of the game that you were talking about, Peter.
Yeah.
And now that I've learned some history, you appreciate more. And that's what I'm saying. We are talking about history here, and we will bring this back later. I want to thank Mr. Peter Ross very much
Thank
for
you
coming
for
out
having
again.
me, guys. I really appreciate being
You'll be
here.
on bat. You'll be on
Thank
again.
you.
We'll
I
have
certainly
you
hope
on
so.
again.
I
We'll
certainly
give you
hope
another
so.
take a look at it. Mr. Milani, I want to tell you that I hope I didn't insult your girlfriend. That's all
so.
I'm going to do. Tell
Yeah,
her,
don't.
Stephanie, I
Yeah,
hope
this
to
sort
meet-
of physical thing.
No,
yeah.
I think that we got to go ahead because I really wanted to bring up that I thought nothing wrong with Tiger Woods handing Justin Thomas a tampon. And now it's time for the House That Happens Weekly Trivia, brought to you by the proprietor of the only place to be in suburban Etobicoke, Shuey's Bar and Grill. Serge, can you serve us up some trivia, bro?
Yes. So let's just go right to last night. Last night, there was a little history made.
Oh, most block shots.
No.
Giordano broke the record for most block shots
Well,
last
that's
night.
something. He's close to something, yes.
Is it Giordano?
No.
He did, but he did break a record. Was it last night?
No, last night, Craig Anderson, the goalie for the Sabres, became the oldest goalie at 41 years old
To win a
to
game?
make a 50 save performance.
Wow.
Wow.
He saved 50. Like
I saw the
53
game.
shots,
I was watching the game.
3-1.
Against-
Buffalo won
over Florida.
Florida, his old team,
Yep.
Yep.
and he became the oldest goalie to make a 50
Save.
shot save
Win.
win.
We should put that down there then. So it was 2 historic nights because the Toronto Maple Leafs, who we'll discuss during the show, Giordano broke the record for most block shots in the history of the NHL.
He broke it yesterday.
He broke
I
it
know
yesterday.
He was close.
He broke it last night. So that's 2 interesting.
Sure, he's been in the league 30 years.
Yeah, well, and if he's the defenseman leading Toronto to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's
Okay,
our
you
weekly
need
trivia.
you need that minute muncher.
Okay. Anyways, that's our weekly trivia. We'll expect to see back from Serge again soon with some more. In any event, thanks again, Peter, for being out here. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for getting in there. This is The House That Happens. My name is Cruz.
And I'm Andrew Milani.
Thanks for coming out.